Yo, what's up guys? Can't Flip for Ship here. This is a review on the RAD Steel Cygnus. An awesome, cool balisong. It's a budget offering by a company called RAD Balisong. Just a little review for you guys. And for those of you who don't know RAD Balisong, they are the producer of the original Cygnus, or co-producer of the original Cygnus, designer of the Cygnus for LDY Balisong, an old, since discontinued balisong. And they actually started their own little thing now, or I shouldn't say little, but they started their own thing. And it's essentially, they're making their own products that they're, I guess, manufacturing themselves or third party. I'm not really sure who manufactures, but anyways, they're no longer associated with LDY. And as a result, they, since they are the creators of the original Cygnus, they have the ability to produce these balisongs here. And they have made the Cygnus V2, which is a higher tier balisong, a higher quality balisong. But that doesn't mean that they couldn't make something a little bit more budget. And so they did make this here, which is a pretty cool offering. It's essentially an all steel version of their balisongs. So this one is, it gets a little harder to flip this thing because it's, or I'll go into it in a minute, but so it's an all steel version of their Cygnus, and it's not really anything like a Cygnus, just because it doesn't really feel like it. I mean, I haven't flipped the RAD one, but it doesn't feel like anything like a normal Cygnus. It's extremely heavy, so that's like the first thing. So this balisong is fairly budget. Let's go and let's let that be the precedent that we set to kind of start things off, because I think it's not fair to judge it and say that it's, so bad in a sense, because it is kind of not really competing with some of these other balisongs that are, a little bit more pricey. It's probably around $45 shipped. So, you're not competing with like the greats in this range. You're more competing with more budget offerings, and that's exactly, I think, what this was meant to be. So that's something people should take with a grain of salt. But it is you still have to look at the things that are good and bad about it. So it's made of all steel, and for that reason it's just insanely heavy. I think it's like 5 ounces. You can feel the difference between this and anything else that you're flipping at the time. So, it's not like something that only I'm noticing. It's something that I think a lot of people are saying, they're saying, hey, this balisong feels very difficult to, manipulate and move, which is not always necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? Actually, you know what? It actually is a bad thing. I can't think of a time where it'd be good to not be able to manipulate and move a balisong. So I'm really just yapping, but it is kind of a bad thing. You don't want a balisong that's super heavy. Again, some weight is fine. Like, it's good to have some weight in your balisong. But I think with this one, it just gets to a point, it just gets to a certain boiling point where you're like, why is this thing so damn heavy? This balisong will make you feel that way. But I mean, it's not like unflippable, as you can see. I mean, I'm managing to get some of these tricks in and get some of the feel for it. So it's not the end of the world, but it is, something of note, right? Like, you'll definitely notice it when you pick it up. And I think, a lot of people who are like very into their flipping, they take their competitive flipping very seriously, they're going to have trouble with this one, because it's not the kind of balisong that has that feel that everybody likes, right? It's pretty handle biased. The finish on it is the kind of finish that lends itself to being slippery at times. So there's times whenever it'll have some grip, but it's really dependent on each and every small situation. Oh shit. And so for that reason, it's like, it just I have a little bit of trouble keeping it up, but whoa, holy diddy. But anyways, it is dependent on little different situations. So there's times when it'll have grip, but for the most part, it doesn't really necessarily have a lot of grip always. As you can see, that smooth kind of like satiny kind of finish lends itself to slipperiness. So between the slipperiness and the heaviness, you catch yourself being like, what, this is kind of hard to manipulate at times. I find myself veering further away from enjoying it. Like sometimes I really just don't want to bother with trying to have to flip it. But then other times, you know, it is a fun, cool ballast song to be like, hey, you know, flip it around. The positives are that it looks pretty cool. It has the Cygnus look, right? I mean, it's the original Cygnus has like inlays. This one's just all one solid piece, obviously. Another positive, obviously, is the price. I mean, it's manageable. It's a price that most people could probably afford. Another positive is I don't know if I said the look already, but the look is fine. Like I'm really winging it, guys. But you know, I think it has a decent balance. Like it's not a horrible balance once you get used to the weight. And then the last thing I'll say is that the sound is really nice. I love the way this ballast song sounds. I sometimes pick it up just for that reason solely. So I guess the verdict on it's like more so is like, is this a ballast song that I would say like I always want to be flipping? No. But at the same time, is this a ballast song that I would say is not worth flipping? I would say no. This is a good ballast song. Is it great? No. So like I would say this is a great definition of what good is. You know, it hits the marks that it needs to. It doesn't, you know, tell you that it's, you know, something it's not. It's not like they're advertising like this is the greatest thing ever. Granted, they have gotten some really good flippers to get on there and use it to where it's like, oh, maybe I could do something with that. Flippers that quite frankly blow me out of the water. But still, you know, that you can call a spade a spade. I mean, it's not a crazy good performer. I'm just gonna come out and just outright say it. You know, there are moments where this ballast song is lacking. Another thing in terms of, you know, the fact that it's a trainer is like, it's very hard to differentiate the safe handle and bite handle, which, you know, for it's trainer, so you can kind of get away with it. And for me, you know, I've been flipping for so long, oh shit, that it doesn't really bother me that much. But if you're somebody who, you know, is new to flipping, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna want to know which is which. And this ballast song does zero to differentiate that. I mean, you can almost hardly ever tell when you're in the middle of flipping. You can hardly tell because of the handles. So that is a kind of like a downside. So like I would say this is a ballast song that kind of like needs work. I would say that there's a lot that they could do to make this better. Indicator on one side, bring the weight down. But then you look at like what you're paying and what you're asking, what, you know, it's like, is a steel ballast song a novelty? You know, because if it is, then it's like, okay, maybe it's kind of like cool. You know, it's like, okay, it's all steel, you know, it's something that's interesting. It's cheap, that's for sure. But in some sense, it's like, you know, I can kind of see them being like, you know, like what, like I kind of see this being like a cool little fun little knick-knack ballast song to add to the collection. Something interesting. If you didn't have a steel ballast song, this could be a cool option for you, right? So that's kind of nice, but at the end of the day, you know, it's still not amazing, to be quite frank. And it could use some work outside of the utility and the novelty of the fact that it's a cool little offering. Like if you can't appreciate the interestingness of it, then I'll be quite honest, there's not really much there, other than the fact that it flips decent, right? Decent is like the name of the game with this thing. It's decent at a lot of things. It's probably good at nothing. It's got a good amount of weight, so, you know, I think it's okay. It's better. It's gonna be better at like 0G tricks. I say that as I fucking botch one, but it's gonna be better at those types of tricks because it can grab. Oh my god, I'm like the master of like messing up something when I'm trying to talk about it. But like, as you can see, you know, it grips you more on those types of tricks. It's gonna be. The good thing is like there's no sharp edges. There's no parts that could hurt your hand. Like it's very easy and soft for your hand, but the added weight makes it a little bit hard sometimes. Trying to think of what else, you know, there's really not much else to say. I mean, you know, this is not a great ballast song, but it is cool. And it has some novelty. That the extra weight might make it better for carryovers and some tricks and things, and especially because the fact that it is decently balanced. And, you know, this thing will last you a while. It's very tough. So I think that's like the last good thing that I would say about it, is that there is like a degree of toughness that you will get with a ballast song like this that you just don't get with a ballast song that's, you know, known to be a little bit more finicky or a little less tough. So that's kind of like the nice part about it. But aside from that, man, I don't really know what else there really is, you know. if I had to rate this Balisong, like, I wouldn't say I was disappointed because you don't expect much from something like this, and it is kind of like a novelty. But I would say if I had to rate it for what it is, I would say that it's probably like a 5 out of 10, a middle of the road kind of Balisong. Would I recommend it? Probably not. But then again, it's like, what else is in this price range? I mean, you have the Nibali Canyon, you have the Nibali that other one. People in the comments will say the aluminum one that's like everyone says is the best budget Balisong of all time. So there's that. You know, there is, I don't think anything from LDY is this cheap, but you can probably get one on the secondhand market for close to that price. So, you know, there's that option. But yeah, realistically, this is a really decent budget option if you're not into clones, and if you want to go with a company that a lot of people like and respect, you know, then that might be the way to go. But aside from that, it's like at that point, it's like I don't know what else to say about it that's good. Because it has a lot of flaws. So yeah, that's kind of like where I am on this thing. But don't get me wrong, I don't mind it. For all that it's worth, it's not bad. But yeah, guys, let me know if you like this, if you plan on getting one, what you think about it. Rock on.